Welcome to our channel. Please like and subscribe.
Can you understand native speakers talking at full speed in Turkish? Have you ever listened to real Turkish people talking together and felt like your brain completely gave up after the first 3 seconds? You hear sounds, you hear emotion, you maybe recognize one word, maybe two, and then suddenly the entire conversation disappears into a blur of fast Turkish. And the strange thing is, when you study slowly, you actually understand Turkish pretty well. But native speakers? At full speed, it feels impossible, almost like they're speaking a completely different language. But here's something important you need to understand right now. You are not failing because Turkish is too hard. You are struggling because nobody trained your ears for real Turkish rhythm. Textbook Turkish is slow, clean, and carefully pronounced. Real Turkish is emotional, connected, shortened, fast, and unpredictable. And today, we are going to train your ears to follow real Turkish conversations more naturally, without panic, without trying to understand every single word, because that is not how fluent listening works. By the end of this lesson, fast Turkish will start feeling less overwhelming and much more familiar. So relax, breathe slowly, and let your ears adjust naturally to the rhythm of spoken Turkish. Why native Turkish sounds so fast? The first thing you need to understand is that native Turkish speakers are not intentionally trying to speak quickly. They are simply comfortable. And when people are comfortable in their language, sounds naturally connect together. For example, beginners often learn this sentence clearly, "Ne yapıyorsun?" which in English means, "What are you doing?" But in real conversations, native speakers often shorten and soften it. Sometimes it sounds more like, "Ne yapıyorsun?" which in English means, "What are you doing?" Repeat slowly, "Ne yapıyorsun?" which in English means, "What are you doing?" Again, "Ne yapıyorsun?" which in English means, "What are you doing?" Notice how the sounds connect together naturally. This happens constantly in spoken Turkish. Your goal is not to hear every individual sound perfectly. Your goal is to recognize familiar patterns. Part 2. Stop took against the bet. Nope, she will make mast with matters. Thope is not business. In this chat, just run the last pass is sund and paddle business. No, ne yapıyorsun? This because just the Brit past believed together. Then, Chivas everywhere. So, continue to be watch the company what you doing. Noticity, stop continue to emvaset the junba. Justly watch the that. This means he will how the last past is sund and paddle. But lest, then be what together. But no, now yapıyorsun. Part 2. Stop together. One of the biggest reasons learners struggle with fast Turkish is because they are translating every sentence into English in real time. But conversations move too quickly for that. Instead, your brain needs direct emotional understanding. For example, boş ver, which in English means forget it or don't worry about it. Repeat naturally. Boş ver, which in English means forget it. Again, boş ver, which in English means forget it. You should begin feeling the meaning instantly, not translating word by word. Now this one, gerçekten mi? Which in English means really? Repeat it emotionally. Gerçekten mi? Which in English means really? Native speakers react emotionally very fast. That emotional speed is part of why Turkish conversations feel fast and alive. 3. Turkish has rhythm. Turkish is musical. And when you understand the rhythm, listening becomes much easier. Native speakers stress emotions, not every individual syllable. Listen carefully. Bugün gerçekten çok yoruldum, which in English means, today I got really tired. Repeat slowly. Bugün gerçekten çok yoruldum, which in English means, today I got really tired. Now slightly faster. Bugün gerçekten çok yoruldum, which in English means, today I got really tired. Excellent. Now this one. Açlıktan ölüyorum, which in English means, I'm starving. Repeat emotionally. Açlıktan ölüyorum, which in English means, I'm starving. Again, more dramatic. Açlıktan ölüyorum, which in English means, I'm starving. Very good. Emotion helps your brain predict meaning faster, and prediction is a huge part of fluent listening. Native speakers shorten words constantly. For example, bilmiyorum, which in English means, I don't know. When spoken naturally, it often becomes softer and faster. Bilmiyorum ya, which in English means, I don't know. Repeat it naturally. Bilmiyorum ya, which in English means, I don't know. Again. Bilmiyorum ya, which in English means, I don't know. Now this phrase, bir saniye, which in English means 1 second. Repeat it. Bir saniye, which in English means 1 second. Now faster. Bir saniye, which in English means 1 second. Native speakers compress sounds in every language. English speakers do it too. So when Turkish sounds different from the textbook, do not panic. That is not bad Turkish. That is real Turkish. Part 5. Listening for meaning. Generally, Brock, with said of perfection, you do not need to hear every word to understand conversations. Even native speakers do not process every sound consciously. Your brain listens for important information. For example, dün aslında gitmek istedim ama sonra çok yoruldum, which in English means, yesterday I actually wanted to go, but later I got very tired. A beginner tries to catch every word, but fluent listeners hear key ideas. Dün, which in English means yesterday. Gitmek istedim, which in English means wanted to go. Çok yoruldum, which in English means I got very tired. And suddenly the sentence makes sense. This is how real listening works. You gather clues, you predict meaning, you stay calm. Part 6. Real native speed, but wants one to help you, not follow. Notif, shonem. So in speaker for these brains, matli this go on. The native speakers would be a timbre problem. No would. You go to Mjord might she was changed to profess the square and jumped the li before. Part 6. Real native speed. No would. Shonem you get to the multiple and other for the gree, salute with me. Part 6, which in English means real listening. Part 6, which in English means real sentence. You know that you don't do real listening. Shonem, shesho the physika with the gree. Shonem would be corporately first and easily profession. Generally proved, auctionedly. Maybe shelnem should be in every word. The coup that any time is break nova tactionally provide them into the case, goes to pair work in the word. In English mentioned about bus, the clue that is naturally stens. This it makes something fall as ring, you get profession. Part 6. which in English means real native speed. Generally can prevent every word, she can proved before into the case. In Englishens in Chopton for the dregment, but believe of the part, them follow along. Now, dun will comproved bevent is even more important to the croat. Next day, dun will take them is important the longlis. The most interested when she can figured out in just a case, children shall evening, you det profession. Next to, noli prevent is key weight is braid and bevent. Cash and one gold generals and want. So, goodnum, get to the go and your cashly general and cash, you want to braid. Generally change the braid and along. You don't get the men, so anything, a get provide them. Because of its easily provide. Make sure that impact to go in your, and let the bet is a key is braid, into vivent. Next, challenges. Generally can trouble the game, show nem is change the braid, noli a plot. Cash, very sense bevets. Given atent disappeared, but, which in this man, a get provide. Den, prevent provide, cash, gate the speed. Generally prevent brokely provide, which in fact their original bet. Next to, goodnum drite to change the braid before juice it. The long is provide them its gamen from general and cashly provide. Generally prevent braid. Generally prevent braid, provide them, and brate the vent provide. Next pesh, better branch before it's really can troubled again. Cash, very sense bevets. Generally full of general bet, do not provide them. Next pesh, very sense bevets. Given, again, show nem is change the braid before juice it. Next pesh, better branch before, is gamen from general and cash goodly emerge. Next 12, bet provide. Generally prevent braid, right now, and every single practice. Now let's practice listening more naturally. I'll say a sentence slowly first, then more naturally. Ready? Bu akşam boş musun? Which in English means, are you free tonight? Repeat slowly. Bu akşam boş musun? Which in English means, are you free tonight? Now naturally. Bu akşam boş musun? Which in English means, are you free tonight? Excellent. Next sentence. Eve yeni geldim. Which in English means, I just got home. Repeat slowly. Eve yeni geldim. Which in English means, I just got home. Now naturally. Eve yeni geldim. Which in English means, I just got home. Very good. Now this one. Son zamanlarda nasılsın? Which in English means, how have you been recently? Repeat it. Son zamanlarda nasılsın? Which in English means, how have you been recently? Now faster. Son zamanlarda nasılsın? Which in English means, how have you been recently? Notice something important. The more familiar a sentence becomes, the slower it feels to your brain. That is the secret of understanding fast Turkish. Many learners secretly panic during listening practice, and panic destroys comprehension. The moment your brain thinks, I'm not understanding this, you stop listening calmly. Instead, train yourself to relax even when confused, because confusion is normal. Every fluent speaker once felt exactly like this. Here's a useful phrase, sakin ol, which in English means stay calm. Repeat it. Sakin ol, which in English means stay calm. Again, sakin ol, which in English means stay calm. Now this one, yavaş yavaş, which in English means little by little. Repeat slowly. Yavaş yavaş, which in English means little by little. Fluency grows gradually, not instantly. Part 8. Replate sentences little by little. Mishtegri się nevese staki. No, little by little. Now let's hear a short, natural Turkish conversation. Listen carefully. Neighbor, which in English means what's up. İyiyim ama bugün çok yoruldum, which in English means I'm good, but I got really tired today. Gerçekten mi? Which in English means really? Evet, bütün dün çalıştım, which in English means yeah, I worked all day. Çok zor olmuştur, which in English means that must have been difficult. Now again, more naturally. Naber, which in English means what's up? İyiyim ama bugün çok yoruldum, which in English means I'm good, but I got really tired today. Gerçekten mi? Which in English means really? Evet, bütün gün çalıştım, which in English means yeah, I worked all day. Çok zor olmuştur, which in English means that must have been difficult. Excellent. Even if you missed some words, your brain probably understood the emotional direction of the conversation. That matters more than perfection. 9. Your brain is already adapting. Here's something amazing. Your ears are already adjusting right now, even if you do not fully realize it yet. Because every time you hear real Turkish, your brain becomes slightly more familiar with the rhythm. At first, native speech feels impossible. Then suddenly, you recognize one phrase, then another, then an entire sentence. And eventually, conversations stop sounding like random noise. They begin sounding familiar, predictable, human. That is how listening fluency develops, through exposure, through patience, through repetition. Now, let's finish with one final listening challenge. This time, do not force yourself to understand every single word. Just relax and follow the overall meaning. Ready? Aslında ben de eskiden Türkçeyi anlamakta çok zorlanıyordum. Ama her gün dinleme pratiği yaptıkça daha iyi olmaya başladım. Which in English means, actually, I also used to struggle understanding Turkish, but as I practiced listening every day, I started getting better. Again, more naturally. Aslında ben de eskiden Türkçeyi anlamakta çok zorlanıyordum. Ama her gün dinleme pratiği yaptıkça daha iyi olmaya başladım. Which in English means, actually, I also used to struggle understanding Turkish, but as I practiced listening every day, I started getting better. Very good. Now, take a deep breath and realize something important. If you understood even parts of this lesson, your listening is already improving. Because understanding fast Turkish is not about talent. It is about familiarity. The more your brain hears natural Turkish, the calmer it becomes. And eventually, the speed that once felt impossible begins feeling normal. So keep listening, keep relaxing, keep exposing your ears to real conversations. And one day, without warning, you'll hear Turkish people speaking naturally at full speed. And instead of panic, you'll quietly realize, bir dakika, which in English means, wait a second. Anladım, which in English means, I understood. And maybe next time you hear fast Turkish flowing around you,
Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you'll simply smile quietly, stay calm, and keep listening for just one more familiar phrase.
That was excellent. Please like and subscribe for daily lessons. See you next time.